Hello and welcome back to Gape's Grow Room. Today I'm going to be repotting some starts. I've got some basil starts here. I've got a sweet basil and a Thai basil. And I had a lot of questions from some people asking how I do my repotting, so I thought I would do this update here. So I've got a mix here, and this year I'm going with the Jiffy seed starting mix actually as my potting mix because I'm trying to avoid getting fungus gnats like I usually do. And I've been using the Costco organic fertilizer, whatever brand they have, the last few years, and I always get a lot of fungus gnats. So I'm gonna go with this. This is all a sterile mix, so there's no compost or anything in here that would create any bugs. So what I do is pour some seed starting mix into a bucket. And then I also add a few other things. So if I'm just doing seed starting, I'll do the Jiffy, and I'll also add a little bit of this perlite. So I'm gonna add this to the mix as well. I don't add a whole lot, just a little bit to keep the soil a little bit loose, and it makes it easier to break the roots apart later. So I've got those two things, and then I'm also going to add some fertilizer. So I have this Garden Maker fertilizer. This is a blend that I created myself. I think I got it last year or the year before last year, but it's a 4-3-4 NPK fertilizer. So I pretty much customized this fertilizer myself, adding whatever ingredients that I wanted. So it was kind of fun putting together. Anyway, I'm gonna just grab a small handful and throw that in there just so that there's a little bit of fertilizer in there. And then what we're gonna do is mix it up here with a little fork. And I've also got some warm water here, so it's always a good idea to pre-moisten your potting mix if it's dry, and this is a very dry mix. And warm water is also a good idea because you don't want to shock your young seedlings. If you're just starting the seeds, cold water is okay if you're going to be using a heat mat, but if you're repotting seedlings, you've got to use warm water or they will go into shock. All right, so that's pretty well mixed. And I've mentioned this before, but the consistency you want is so that when you squeeze the potting mix, no moisture really comes out and it stays in a ball. So we should be good there. So I'm gonna be repotting the basil into these 4-cell packs. So I'm gonna go ahead and use those. You can do 6 packs depending on the seedling. It's really whatever I have and how big the seedling is, but I usually go with the 4 packs for the basil. So I'm just going to put some of that mix in each cell. And now the fun part is getting the basil seedlings out of these cells. So I planted these in a large oversized 6-pack, and they are packed in there pretty tight. So I'm going to start with the Thai basil, which is this one here on the right. And these are fairly well root bound. I'm not sure what this rubber band is doing in the bottom of this, but anyway. And it's best that if you have the potting mix a little bit on the dry side. If it's too wet, it'll be a lot more difficult to break the roots apart. So what I usually do is just kind of roll it in my hand like that to kind of loosen up the roots. And then I just split it down the middle. And I can really smell the basil when I did that. And then just take one by one, starting at the end and just kind of pulling it gently. And you will break a few roots most likely, but it should be okay as long as there's some roots on there. And I just lay them on the table and just break them apart one by one. If you can shake it a little bit too to help. We've got a lot of seedlings. I may not plant all these because that's probably going to be quite a few. I may just discard the smaller ones. Like this one here is pretty small. It has a pretty good roots, but it's a little bit small, so I may not do that one. We'll see how many we end up with. But they usually come apart pretty easily as long as the potting mix is pretty dry. So after I get these separated, then we'll just put those into the cell. There. So that's about a little less than half of them. And then we're going to just take that pile, now that they're separated, and move them over here next to our 4-pack here. So now what I do is I just put a hole, and I usually just use one of these tags, or you can use a finger, you can use a pencil, but just put a hole in each of the cells for our seedlings. And then we'll just take one of these, and I sometimes have to make it a little bit bigger with my finger, and then just stick it right in there, and then close the hole up, and that's it. Really pretty easy. And if you have some really tall, leggy seedlings, you can plant them a little bit deeper so that you cover up some of that stem. All right, there you go. And then we've got labels here. Make sure you label them. So that is all that there is to it. And then I just put them over back under the lights. Depending on how dry it is, I may give it a little bit more water, but I think we have enough water in here for now. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest of these and put them under the lights. Here's all of our seedlings. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 packs of 4, so there's 24 seedlings here. I did still have quite a few seedlings left over, but I don't really need that many. I don't really have space for so many, so I'm just going to do these. I'll just compost these, or maybe I'll just eat them like microgreens. And then I've got the sweet basil I still need to do, which I'll do in the same way, and I'll probably do the same number of sweet basils as I did the Thai basil. And that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. You can also find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.